Hi, welcome to Gene Rants. I'm Gene, and today we're going back to where we were yesterday, Washington, D.C. Now, yesterday, Washington, D.C., I talked about how Trump has federalized law enforcement in Washington, D.C. Actually, 800 National Guard on the streets, at least at that time, yesterday, maybe more now. They've already made a number of arrests, including at least one suspected murderer. So getting results already, but you have, not to be unexpected, pushback from liberals who, let's just cut right to the chase. They don't want to acknowledge, or they don't want the optics of showing how badly Democrats are running these Democrat-run cities. So that's the main reason for the pushback. And well, another one, an ancillary reason, is that it's sad, but it's a fair thing to mention, because the victims, a lot of this crime, it takes place in minority neighborhoods, black neighborhoods. Most of the people committing these crimes are also black. And if you're talking about cracking down on crime, sorry to say, but, well, it's just natural. If you have a city with a large black population, you're going to have a lot of black people, being a higher proportion of black people being arrested. They don't like the optics of that. Never mind honest black people. And I know whereof I speak, okay, because I lived in Harlem for 10 years. That was the last place I moved before I moved to Tennessee, where I am now. I moved in 2019. But getting back to Washington, D.C., you have Al Sharpton, as you would expect, on TV, claiming that it's all about race. So the usual suspects and what we're going to address today with a video is a claim that Washington, D.C. is really not that bad. And it's really, it's almost comical if it weren't so sad because of people getting hurt. But there was one demonstration against federalizing the law enforcement, and 2 blocks away there was an assault. I believe it was an assault or a robbery, something like that happened, or maybe even a shooting. I'm not sure. Anyways, what I'm going to show you today, this is an X post from somebody who lives, or lived at least, in Washington, D.C. His name is Benny Johnson, and I'm going to, first let's start out with the first part of his tweet, or whatever they call it on X these days. My security camera will show you what life was like for a family living in D.C. Here's a mass shooting and murder in my front lawn, followed by my house being set on fire with my wife and infant child inside. And here's the video. You just saw the video. Continuing with the post. These are regular occurrences for D.C. residents, not this rarity or whatever that these critics of the federalization of law enforcement are claiming. So these are regular occurrences for D.C. residents. I live just a few blocks from the so he moved. I lived just a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol. There were open drug deals and arms deals constantly outside my house. My family was threatened on a near daily basis. Racist epithets were hurled at my wife and infant children. Rocks were thrown at us, and that includes the infant children, I assume, as we walked down the street. We were constantly targeted for being white in a black neighborhood, quote unquote. No one gave a blank. Judges and cops saw us as the problem. When DC defunded their police, the city turned into a deadly war zone. Every resident was terrorized. That's what I'm talking about. Minorities too. Everybody, every resident was terrorized. DC is a failed state, actually a failed district, to be technically correct. DC home rule is a mistake. The worst, most entitled racists living off your tax dollars and desecrating our nation's capital, turning the seat of Western civilization into a deadly welfare narco state. Entire neighborhoods need to be cleared out and bulldozed. This can't happen soon enough. Every American must support Trump federalizing the city and martial law as a point of American pride. Restore the seat of Western civilization. To which I say, to all that, I say, well, I feel bad for that family, but and for the people who are still who haven't, who either I guess they, the triumph of hope over experience, or they can't afford to move. I feel badly for them, but at least this one person moved, but still cares, just as I care about I care about New York. I still care deeply about New York. They're about to, from all indications so far, about to elect a communist mayor, a communist anti-Semitic mayor, which is just going to make things will just be worse. And even worse in the 70s were when I first moved to New York, 1977. And I still care about my hometown of Detroit, where I was born and raised, and from 1952 to 1977. And well, I do read hopeful articles about Detroit, so we'll see what happens there. I'm keeping an open mind. I sure am hopeful, but no hope for, not much hope for New York City, unless if this this anti-Semitic communist gets elected after 4 years. What I expect to happen, if it happens, hopefully they'll get as sensible as they became after 4 years of a disastrous David Dinkins administration, and elected Rudy Giuliani for 2 terms, best mayor New York had since I lived there, from 77 to 2019, and then Bloomberg, Nanny Bloomberg, a little, not as good, but he kept the city still orderly and safe. So we'll see what happens. But this is Washington, D.C., and well, I don't know. I'm an American, so I want to be optimistic. Not much to be optimistic about today, but you saw the video, and that is the reality of Washington, D.C. Whatever anybody says, these people just who are opposing Trump, as they oppose him on everything, it's like a broken record. So who cares? If you're just going to oppose him on everything, then people aren't going to listen to you anymore, Democrats. And I guess that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Your comments welcome in the comment section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.